Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards, your one-stop shop for all your ship needs. I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Colonel Collins, and this week has been a ship bonanza. We've been following up on episode 5's lots of ships, and here we are with a more detailed look at those ships because we managed to find and tease and grab things from other episodes. And, the fleet. We didn't just get the refit, the Discovery refit, we've got this whole fleet. Now we've got a better look at most of them. Are they better? Are they worse? Do we like them? Do we not? Are we going to see more of them? We don't know, Stuart, but here we are to talk about them.
I'm looking forward to looking at these in more detail. Yeah, you get glimpses of them here and there, but, then you find other things, behind-the-scenes stuff and some other stuff. Yeah, like you said, notice things in different episodes and pull it all together. I mean, we've done one on the Voyager J. We've, of course, looked at the refit for Discovery. And there's a bunch of other ones here that hopefully will get more screen time.
They're going to, and we keep predicting things that happen, so I'm going to definitely predict we're going to see them by the end. There's going to be some epic moment where they all warp in, etc. But we have looked at the Nog, but here is it in more clarity. This collage is using a new poster that was released by CBS, which included the Voyager J, much more clean picture, 3 renders, one of which was from a later episode where you see it, the one on the bottom right. The front view quite clear there, clearly attached in the cells, which are sort of hard to tell in the other shots. And the other two are the same angle, but from the ready room, which is the behind-the-scenes production with Joss Whedon, with Will Wheaton. And in that it showed a VFX breakdown, which did this lovely fade through different stages of the VFX. And you've got the polygon mode in the bottom left, and then the sort of general base lighting pass on the top right, which obviously is without all this fog, without the color grading, much more plain, but guess what? More visible, and suddenly way more detail, like far more seeable and understandable than the show. So a lot more information. First reaction to any of the stuff of the Nog.
At first glance, I wouldn't say it looks Starfleet. Like I've said before, it looks very much like it belongs in Galaxy Quest or even Orville. It's just got that kind of look to it. But, the more I look at it, the more I say, okay, yeah, I can see this being Starfleet. It's weird that the nacelles are basically the same shape and design as the Discovery's nacelles.
Even that weird circle and the little spikes at the back, I mean, they're absurdly similar.
Yeah, yeah.
They could even be just kit bash nacelles from the Discovery, honestly.
It looks like it, yeah, like it's been shrunk down and stuff. So that's kind of the oddity for me here. That being said, I do like the design. It is quite interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing it in motion. That view from the front, though, reminds me of something else, and I just cannot place it for the life of me.
It reminds me of a lot of things. That sort of having the big spike silhouette. There's a lot of Star Wars things that look quite similar, and some Halo and Mass Effect. It's that kind of other sort of alien-ness.
Yeah, so it probably invokes a lot of things in your mind, and it just, oh yeah, that looks familiar. But it doesn't look Star Trek, though. Like, if they would have put, like, a saucer-type shape on the top, or even just at the front of the thing.
Well, that would have been the Chariot class, though.
That's what I was just going to say, yeah. My buddy Greg McFarlane, that's, like, his favorite ship design. He absolutely loves it. So I'm sure he's going to love this ship. But, yeah, just something like that. Even like an Intrepid-shaped spoon front. Like, just something there, I think, would have made it feel more Starfleet. But anyway, it's an interesting design, and I'm glad we got all these views of it, actually, because it was so vague, like the first time you see it. So
yeah, and what astounds me, but this is a trend. If you look at the polygon view, you can see how absolutely simple it is. How it's a smooth hull, very few polygons, very simple, mesh that's easy to make. And yes, the shapes are kind of organic, but if you're a good modeler, those are easy. This isn't some great complicated model. These are things that are sort of not necessarily thrown together, but they are quick, they're dirty, they're easy, they're efficient. That view hides nothing. There are no greeblies, there are no blinkies, there are no, and even all of the lights, which you can see on the other, are all texture mapped. So they're not even interactive, clever things. So it's kind of it takes the, all the paint off it and just shows you what it really is. And it's like, okay, that's real simple. As I said before in other videos, kind of like, Voyager, a high-end Voyager model, or a medium-end Enterprise model from, the 90s and early 2000s respectively. But, I mean, they got away with it. We could barely see it, and it looked nice. It's kind of like only build what you need, but for Star Trek, we kind of expect a bit more. Yeah, it's one of those things where the nacelles is the only thing that grounds it to anything Star Trek. The fact that Discovery nacelles almost exactly is embarrassing, because they could have taken the idea of Discovery nacelles, like we saw the Discovery A, they're discovering nacelles, but made a lot better. Like, if there were those nacelles, obviously if there were those nacelles, we would have said, wow, they just nicked the nacelles off the Nog. But if they were those nacelles, which look more advanced, then you could say, oh, they're just like callback nacelles. As silly as that is, whatever that means. So it's kind of strange.
Well, the one thing that I just noticed, actually, when you're talking about the polygon thing, and then I just followed it through to all the pictures, we talked about how similar the nacelles are to the Discovery nacelles, but you look at that middle spike that goes back from the ship, and at the very end of that is very much the Discovery nacelles, the back of them, with the little fins, which is almost exactly the same. It's like they really chopped up the Discovery model and just stretched things around to get some of these shapes.
I think a couple of things that would improve it. Also, we don't know. The aesthetic of this era is so varied that it's hard to sort of critique it in that way. But something I would have done is I would have added a visible bridge module to the top. A very distinct, here is the bridge, here is levels A, B, and C with big windows. Like, make that a nice big prominent bump. I would have had visible basards and like big chunky basards and big chunky warp grills to kind of reinforce those three things, and maybe like a big shuttle bay at the back with more visible doors. So if they had those four things, you'd say, okay, they changed the shape, but it's still got a fundamental level of tech. Obviously, that's not what this tech is at this part of the timeline. Clearly, there's no weapon emitters, there's no blinkies, there's no registries, we just see registry, but there's none of a lot of the stuff we know, so it's hard to critique. But I would have done those things to kind of reground it. But hey-ho. But Stuart, that's one ship. The next ship, though, is one that you have asked about. I was very happy that when they did this breakdown, CJ breakdown, we saw this diffuse view of a ship that we kind of called the Sovereign, the Enterprisey look one, and this is it, zoomed in, enhanced, and far more clear than we saw before. And this is the sort of the most potentially canony looking one.
It looks a little bit different than I expected when I first saw it. I originally thought that the nacelles were very similar to the Sovereign class nacelles, just with that bigger bump at the front and then back. Seeing them up close, though, more high res, it's very much different. But it does feel the most Starfleety, of all the ships. It almost looks like a future version of an NX-01. I don't know if this is the Constitution class that they called out with no secondary hull, kind of like we were presented here. It's interesting that to me it just looks like a new modernized NX-01.
I do quite like the nacelles, and are they? I mean, this is obviously it's an upscale, high res, whatever. But I guess the nacelles aren't attached. Yeah, they still look like they've sort of got pylons, partial pylons. I'm assuming they're all gonna have detached nacelles because that's kind of the aesthetic. It'd be weird to have some that weren't.
Yeah, but we don't know how old some of these ships are. Like, some of them could be pre-burn or whatever, which is 120 years ago. So, that being said, in the last episode I saw one in the background on one of the displays, and it looked very Constitution classy. I don't know if it's the same ship, but I mean, looking at this one now, it seems like it might be. And again, it's got some interesting shapes. Like, I think those engines are actually quite similar to the one we are looking at here. Just hard to tell, really.
And that was a great find when he found that, because it's like an insanely like, oh my god, it's got all the elements that you know. Because by having one of these sorts of ships, it does kind of allow you to have really weird ships, because it shows like there's just a broad spectrum. Although this ship clearly has a very vengeance style hole in the saucer, which is unattractive. But I do quite like how pointy the nacelles are, and I like this view. It's nice. It just looks like a Connie with a few things changed.
Weird shapes there at the attachment points for the struts, if that's what they are. Like kind of the rounded out part.
Did you guys notice this? I certainly didn't until you pointed it out. But a good find. But full disclaimer though, if you go to picture 4, this ship may be that ship and the last ship, because there is a cutout in the saucer, but it is also filled in, and the nacelles are weird, but we can barely see on the bottom one. But because one is a side view that looks, you know what I mean? They may or may not be the same ship. Very hard to tell.
It definitely looks like the same ship to me, just because of the way the nacelles are situated, kind of sideways more than turned up. Like I don't know. And this is the one that I think Trekyards pointed out was the Miranda class, NCC, 1864. I don't know how they get that, and -M. I don't see that personally. And yeah, the one at the top here, it says USS Armstrong clearly. You got a little pod on the bottom. So yeah, I think that's the exact same as the one we were just looking at as well. Because if you look at it, go back to it, it looks like there is like that pod shape down at the bottom as well. But the banding that kind of holds the saucer together, or looks like it does, ties in with kind of all of them. So I think they're all the same ship that we're looking at here. And the hole in the middle, it's interesting because the banding holds that center bridge module separate. So
it's amazing though once you start to see other views, and because this bottom view is so hard to see, as in for picture 4, you can't see the cells, you can't really get a grasp of what they are. The top one, it's being so stopped by the left, but once you see the Connie view, you're like, okay, well that's how the nacelles look, and now your brain does start to see, well that's actually a pylon, that's actually a connection point. Okay, so yeah, these probably are the same. I mean, it's pretty close. And this is the ship that got blowed up in the first. This is pretty much the first thing we see in this entire timeline. The ship that Michael Burnham almost flies through. Okay, so now we've put these pieces together. This is the kind of the Connie looking ship. It is all the same ship. What do you think now with the way the hull is, etc.?
Not the biggest fan. That view, like where you can see USS Armstrong like from underneath, looks god awful. Not a fan of the banding look as well, but from the side it looks great. I think that shot looks really gorgeous. I think we probably saw these in the burn explosion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thing as well.
Well, we saw them all there. Just hard to tell.
Well, the one thing we're not seeing really is the Andor class one that I really like.
It's true. Yeah, there's no highlight on that.
It's in when they first come in. You can see it on the right hand side there. But there's no real other close-ups of it that I can.
But it's weird how in a universe where things are so disconnected, as in nacelles, it's weird to have all this banding, as you say, be so like hull platey connectivey. That's kind of a weird, like, is that the aesthetic? I don't know. But this might be their older ship. I mean, the pylons might actually be still connected, because it's kind of hard to tell, but they don't necessarily look disconnected. So what if this is like the older ship, which is also why it looks like most like a Connie, etc. So this doesn't have, they just don't need it. They're functioning fine without it.
And even when you separate those two pictures, the Armstrong one and the other one, like you make them just bigger on your screen instead of having them together, you can see a little bit more detail as well. Like, and I don't buy that that's the Reliant M. I'm sorry, Trek Corps. I think you're grasping at straws there. Unless they know something we don't, but
speaking of knowing things that none of us know, the last shot we've got here is a better look at the rings, and of course at the Scout. We really only got the same view of the Scout, but the ring ship.
The ring ship doesn't interest me in the least. Doesn't look Star Trek. Looks very generic sci-fi.
Well, in fact, you know what it looks like? The thing that Thanos sends to Earth. The ring. In Infinity War.
Yeah, not really impressed with that personally. The other one, the Scout class ship, interests me. It's got some interesting shapes there. Again, it reminds me of something else. I just cannot put my finger on it. I do like the shapes that are incorporated in it, though. And then those arms or just cells, whatever they are, that come out kind of like forward, I think looks really unique and definitely something I can get behind. You can see where there's probably a bridge, and so there's some interesting design ideas there.
And it's one of those tricky things where if you put these two ships in a lineup with 5 Trek ships and you said, which one's the odd one out? With being a trick question, none of them are. These two would instantly be thrown out. You would never say these are things of Star Trek, as in Federation. Obviously, they could be generic of the week, who cares? But obviously, it's the future, so it's different. But these two in particular don't share any visible design language with the other ones. They haven't got detached. I mean, maybe the Scout ship's pincers are detached, maybe, but we can't tell. Obviously, the ring is a big unified piece. Now, it'd be nice like the ring was actually like a transwarp gate. It's not actually a ship, it's a mobile transwarp gate, and they can help ships go through. That, for me, would solve that instantly, though it's obviously not that big, but I mean, maybe all they can do is send shuttles, etc. Because why the hell would you make a ring with no internal volume? I mean, it's a waste of everyone's time and effort. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't understand the point of it.
Yeah, wouldn't you need a transwarp gate on the other side, though, to bring them back?
Well, yeah, unless you don't want to come back, or you just send a ship in pieces to the other side, or you're out of focus.
You send a ship emergency response style as fast as you can, transwarp through the gate to where it needs to be, and then it takes like 2 months to get back because it's just going as fast as it can. So,
but if you were clever, you would design a ship that you can disassemble, send through a separate one, that's it, and then you build it on the other side.
Oh yeah, good point.
In replicatable matter, and not like I think you could build an entire ship of replicatable matter, because just like in TNG, you can't replicate everything. So why do you think you could do that with the matter? Of course you can't. Otherwise you wouldn't have work bees robots. You wouldn't need them if you could just build everything with matter. Clearly, like obviously. So these ships are just part of the aesthetic. Again, low detail models. I'm more excited for the bottom one, but same as the previous one. If it had a divisible bridge dome, if it had basards, if it had integrated like warp grills, if you had a few of those classic TNG elements retrofitted into it. That's the thing. You can turn almost any shape into a Star Trek ship if you give it, like I said, phaser strips, red and blue glows, impulse engines, bridge dome, maybe even a low sensor dome. Boom! You've now got a Star Trek ship, even if it's a hexagonal brick. Hey, it's a Star Trek hexagonal brick. So it's a really hard thing to see, and until we really see dedicated shots of them, and I kind of hope we get sequences in the later episodes where Discovery is jumping somewhere and is rendezvousing with a ship that's at our planet, because now they can go visit ships that are 3 months away, 6 months away, and then we get a shot of them two together. It's like, oh wow, that looks really good. While they teased us, they didn't necessarily do any of these justice.
So guys, I guess that's it for a look at the detailed breakdown of the fleet. If you guys have any thoughts, suggestions, comments, put them down below. Did you think that was the Reliant M? I never did. So just wondering what your thought is on that. Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and click the notification bell icon to all, because we do a lot of great breakdowns and fun stuff, especially when ships are involved. That's what we do here on Trekyards. We love it. So if you don't want to miss anything, please join us for our lives and make sure you're notified every time we upload.
And once we do upload, you should go comment, be part of that community, and then once you've got enough of a taste of just commenting on a pre-recorded, join our lives then and comment and then super chat once you're there, because not only can you comment, you can make us read your comment and probably create a whole new conversation because of that. For even $1 or $5, it does make a difference, because all this content is free for you, and you've seen how many videos we've done during Discovery, Lower Decks and Picard all this year, and Mandalorian to some extent. Do enjoy content, and if you can support us via PayPal, Patreon, join the YouTube channel, or just super chat, all helps. And if you can't, just keep watching our stuff. That does obviously help as well. And tell your friends. As 2021, yep, that's the year we'll be doing next year. Even more ships and even more stuff like this. So until then, guys, he is Captain Foley.
And he's Commander Cockings.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.